Hello and thanks for joining us on TVC News at 7. I am Aboseti Adeniran. We'll begin with the story of the tragic passing of Chimamanda Adichie and Dr. Anthea Esege's 21-month-old son. The Nigerian writer has spoken publicly for the first time about the death of her young son, describing it as a series of medical failures at a private hospital in Lagos State. In a detailed account released recently, Ms. Adichie said her son, Nkanu, would still be alive but for an incident that occurred at Eurocare Hospital on the 6th of January. According to her statement, the family had traveled to Lagos for Christmas when the child developed what initially appeared to be a mild illness, but later worsened. He was admitted to Atlantis Hospital, where doctors planned his transfer to the United States for specialist care the following day. Ms. Adichie said a medical team at Johns Hopkins Hospital in Baltimore was expecting her son and had requested diagnostic tests, including an MRI scan and a lumbar puncture. But the Atlantis Hospital referred the family to Eurocare Hospital to carry out their procedures, as well as the insertion of a central line ahead of the planned flight. In her account, the writer alleged that her son was not properly monitored after sedation and that established medical protocols were not followed. She also raised concerns about the conduct of the anesthesiologist involved, describing it as criminally negligent. The Nigerian author further claimed that she has since learned of previous cases in which children were allegedly overdosed by the same doctor, questioning why he was allowed to continue practicing. Eurocare Hospital has not responded to the allegations as at the time of this report. Now, joining us on TVC News at 7 here in the studio for more on this development is the child's aunt, Dr. Anthea Esege-Nwandu, a dual board-certified internal medicine physician with 30 years of global clinical experience in Nigeria and the United States. Dr. Nwandu, thank you for joining us today. And condolences on this unfortunate incident. All right, so talking about this matter, I know the public is actually reacting to that trending, is it a leaked message now? But the public is talking about it. And as someone who's a medical professional and who has reviewed the case, does the account of negligence described in that message, align with the medical facts as you know it?
Thank you for asking those questions, and thanks for having us. Yes, my baby nephew, Nkanu, was admitted to Eurocare, as you said, for some diagnostic procedures. It's important to note that Nkanu was ill but stable for transfer to the United States as planned. He was taken to the MRI suites at Eurocare, where he received what we call moderate sedation. So he received IV medications to sedate him for the MRI procedure. Subsequent to that event, he was transferred by the anesthetist to the procedure room where he was going to have the spinal tap and lumbar puncture and central line placed, off oxygen, unmonitored. That was the first incident of negligence. For a baby who was unwell, brought in by ambulance from Atlantis on oxygen, standard clinical practice demands that such a baby is monitored continuously. Unfortunately, he got to the procedure room upstairs where the spinal tap was to be performed and was found to be pulseless. So he had a cardiac arrest at some point during that transfer where he was unmonitored, and that was the beginning of his death. Subsequent to that, on transfer again to the ICU, this same anesthetist disconnected him from his ventilator and carried him on his shoulders to the ICU. Again, gross medical negligence. I personally went to Eurocare Hospital and discussed the case and the series of events with the anesthetist in the presence of the medical director. And I specifically asked, is this standard of care? I was informed by the medical director that it was not. In addition, when this was going on, the medical director informed Chimamanda that it seems as if he had been overdosed with propofol, which is the IV sedation he got, and that was responsible for why he arrested. Nkanu was the most loving, emotionally alert baby boy. He was not just a baby, he was the sweetest baby. And my brother and Chimamanda had waited for these twins for 8 years. Not that any baby is not precious, but these babies were extra precious. And for me to be sitting here talking about my boy in the past is indescribable. The pain is indescribable. And so it's a tragedy, it's an unacceptable cost, but it is a wake-up call. It is a time for we, the public, we healthcare providers, to demand accountability and transparency and consequences for negligence in our healthcare system in Nigeria.
All right, and talking about this case now, what do you consider to be the single most egregious failure that turned a stable situation of Nkanu to a fatal one?
Clearly, it was the neglect to put him on oxygen and monitor him continuously following IV sedation. The neglect to follow him continuously, monitor him continuously. So, I mean, Eurocare has the facilities to do that. Continuous pulse oximeter monitoring, continuous blood pressure monitoring, continuous circulatory monitoring, knowing fully well that he's already at risk for being compromised, given the fact that he was unwell. It is important to emphasize that Nkanu was unwell. We recognize that fact. But had this not happened, had this incident and negligence not happened, he would have been alive. Still unwell, but alive.
And we understand that specialized medical evacuation team was actually on standby.
Yes, all the arrangements had been made. He had been cleared to travel within the next 24 hours to Johns Hopkins University in Maryland.
But does the fact that he's been cleared to travel mean that he's actually medically stable upon arrival at the hospital?
Yes, yes, that is exactly what it means. As a physician, I know that. I clear people to travel all the time. If a patient is medically stable, is cleared medically stable to travel, that means there is some degree of stability in his medical situation.
So what is the family's next move now? And has there been a formal petition to the Medical Council and other regulatory bodies? And what would you like to see happen?
So yes, again, we recognize that it's a tragedy. He's not coming back. However, we don't want his death to be in vain. We will be petitioning the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria to lay a formal petition. We will be following up on a thorough investigation to find out what exactly happened. I still don't have the medical records. I just have the verbal report from the doctors at the hospital, where I actually went in person to interview. We will be demanding reforms, systemic reforms at multiple levels, starting from policymakers, starting from the regulatory bodies, the licensing bodies, healthcare institutions, academic and non-academic, healthcare providers, and the general public. We are speaking up now for those who have no voice. We're speaking up for those who this may have happened to and had no outlets and had no means to share their story. We believe anecdotally that there probably are many other incidents like this, resulting in loss of life, that have gone unaccounted for. So we're demanding accountability. We're demanding systemic reforms in patient safety and prevention of harm. And we're demanding for accountability and consequences to medical negligence, which result in loss of life.
Dr. Anthea Esege-Nwandu, dual board-certified internal medicine physician with 30 years of global clinical experience in Nigeria and the US, and Nkanu Condolences again, and thank you so much for sharing your story with us on TVC News.
Thank you very much.